Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Quinton Urshak. I'm the marketing specialist for the Florida High School Athletic Association. I am overseeing the Student Athlete Leadership Seminar. If you've been following along with us all day, welcome back. If this is your first session you're able to watch, I'd like to welcome you. Our seminar was basically designed for student athletes to choose their own path when viewing our presentations. So we have live options and then recording options through the Training Center platform. So we look forward to your feedback on our seminar. I want to thank all the staff that helped me put on this seminar, and want to give a special thanks to our Student Athlete Advisory Committee members who helped with the recordings of our electives today. So please, I want to thank Jackson, Mason, Zach, Namdi, Flynn, Jenny, Sam, and Akila, and all of our keynote speakers that have helped make this seminar possible. This session right here was actually inspired by our Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Before every Student Athlete Advisory Committee meeting, we kind of give a brief rundown about what FHSAA is and what we do. And it has always helped our Student Athlete Advisory Committee members get a better understanding of FHSAA and how, and it helps them make decisions as far as our advisory committee goes. So during this session, you will meet representatives from all the departments at FHSAA, and I'm going to begin by introducing Mr. Scott Jamison, who is our representative from Compliance and Eligibility. So Scott, we'll take it away.
All right, thank you, Quinton, and thank you everybody that's tuning in. We really appreciate it. Obviously, we would all prefer to be standing in front of you right now, doing this in person. We know it's not possible, unfortunately. We hope everybody out there is safe and taking all the precautions that they need to take so we can get this stuff back to normal as soon as possible. I've got my mask right here next to me. Hopefully everybody has their masks and wearing those when they go out. I am one part of the eligibility and compliance team. Our division is led by Craig Damon. He's one of the associate executive directors here at the FHSAA. I work very closely with Jordan Stark and also Becky Torino. Jordan Stark is another director of eligibility and compliance, and Becky Torino is our executive assistant, and we couldn't do any of what we do without Becky, of course. Eligibility and compliance is basically, we're there with what our name says. We're there for the eligibility of student athletes, the compliance of the schools, and making sure that everybody is on a level playing field. That's the goal. We don't want to say no. We try our best to say yes when it comes to eligibility, when it comes to any sort of compliance stuff. There are times, though, again, when we have to keep that playing field level and students may be ruled ineligible from our office. Not what we like to do, but it is something that we have to do to make sure that everybody's on a level playing field. One of the beauties of the way that the system is set up is if a student is ruled ineligible, one of the things they have a right to is due process. We do have due process in place for students to apply for hardship eligibility hearings. We have those every month. They start in August and they run through April. And that is an opportunity for a student who may be ruled ineligible and could have been suspended for conduct on the field or the court or the pool or wherever it might be, or it could be an academic ineligibility. Could be a number of different things. We primarily work from Bylaw 9. Bylaw 10 talks about the due process, also Policy 16 and 17. The only thing that cannot be appealed, and this is something I think that sometimes gets lost in translation with people, is anything that's state law. So for example, GPA requirements of a 2.0 is actually Florida state law. That is not an FHSAA rule. It is in our bylaws, but is in our bylaws because it is in state statute. So if you have a 1.8 GPA, cumulative GPA, that is not something that can be appealed because we are not able to overturn state law. Anything else that is not state law, so anything that is in our bylaws or policies that is not mirrored in state law, is something that can be appealed, and you do have a right to that due process. We want to make sure that students understand that, because due process is one of the most important things that we do here at the FHSAA. Again, we want to be on a level playing field, but we also want to do that in the most fair and equitable way possible. One of the things that we've done over the last year is we've listened to our member schools. That's one of the things we like to do. And as far I'm sure that you've all seen at your schools, lots of students that are coming from other countries, and it's a wonderful thing to see. The international community, especially in the state of Florida, is growing and flourishing. It seems like every year there's more students coming from other countries to get that educational experience here in Florida. And some of those students have had a little bit of trouble because of the way that their calendars, they may start school in January or February. In Brazil, for example, that's one country that we get a lot of students from. But we have adjusted per the requests of some of the members. It was voted on by the Representative Assembly to try to make sure that we are being completely inclusive and equitable with those students that come from those countries and providing opportunities for them to participate in athletics all the way through their high school career here. So that's just one of the things that we do. We listen to those kinds of things. We want to hear those kinds of things. We're not out there every day in the high schools. And so it's wonderful to hear those kinds of suggestions that we get from our member schools, and how can we make the experience better? How can we make it more equitable for the students? And so that's one of the big changes we've had the last couple, actually it was last year that those changes went through. So I will be happy at the end. I think we're going to take some questions. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer any of those, whether it has to do with due process or the processes that we go through. Again, I'm Scott Jamison, Craig Damon, Jordan Stark, and Becky Torino. That is the Eligibility and Compliance Department. And Quentin, that's all I have for now. Again, I'm happy to take any more questions, or if anything else comes up, I'll be happy to discuss it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, Scott, for sharing about what the Eligibility and Compliance Department does. As Scott mentioned, we will be taking questions at the end, so feel free to utilize the chat feature and the Q&A box. I will be moderating them as I had been the last couple sessions. So next we are going to move on to Mr. Justin Harrison, who oversees our athletic department. So Justin, take it away.
Thank you, Quentin. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me first apologize for being late. As you can imagine, there's a good amount of stuff going on now. As Quentin said, I oversee the athletic side of the state over here. I have a tremendous staff, as everybody says. You know, everyone in the building's tremendous. There's specifically 9, including myself back here in athletics. So on any year that is a normal year, I'll say, you know, we have 7 directors who oversee sports. We have a couple folks who oversee officials. So we do anything from making sure like the schools are familiar with the rules through the season, and then we really start to hop in. We really start going real big during the playoffs, where our office will sign your officials. We set up the bracket of where you go, the next game, set up the times, and we really work through all that all the way up until the end, where our staff is actually on site for the state championship events there at the end. So that's our bread and butter here in athletics. Now, as you would probably want to know what's going on in the current environment. So again, I apologize for being late. I was actually on the phone. So what I would ask you to do is, the next time you're able to speak to your coach, speak to your AD, the principal of your school, I would ask you to tell them thanks. They're working behind the scenes. You would not believe the amount of time and effort that they're putting in. They're on the phone with our staff, myself included, day in, day out, at nighttime, whatever it is. So everybody is doing everything in our power to try to provide that sport environment for this year. So I wanted to kind of go over some of that today. Our board of directors have met earlier this week, meeting again today, later on this evening, as a matter of fact. We are continually working to provide you an opportunity as student athletes. Most of us on staff, most of your coaches, most of the principals, they had a tremendous experience in high school with athletics. So that's what we're trying to give back to you. So we are working day in and day out to try to come up with something. We're in extremely challenging time now. So I want to take the time to also say thank you for doing this. I want to say thank you for Quentin for putting this on. It's gotten better and better each year. More and more folks are attending. It's one of the most exciting things that I do year in and year out, just to see you and hear you. Unfortunately, I can't see you today, but hopefully you'll put some comments or some questions in the chat box so we can at least hear you to kind of see what all you're thinking. So that's very important. But I want to give you credit to take time to continue to learn. We're in a brand new environment now, and you're taking time to continue to better yourself as a student athlete, to better yourself as a person. So make sure you share a lot of this with your teammates and other teams at your school as well. Things you pick up from the day. I'm a big believer of, when you go to an event, if you can take at least a handful of things back and employ those, then you're better off from when you started. So again, we definitely appreciate the time there, but that's a little gist of kind of what all we do in athletics. And again, we are going to work day and night. Unfortunately, the virus is something we actually cannot control, but however, we're going to control things around it. We're going to find an environment for you to get something out of the school year sooner as opposed to later. Whatever that looks like, we're not sure. And that's one thing we do want you to kind of to take home is athletics as a whole, we may be at a crucial time in history where athletics as a whole, there may be a change to where everything you've done in a certain sport prior to this, it may look different. And I'm not saying the sport's going to completely change, but there's certain stuff, we're going to learn from this as a whole and as a group to continue to work. So again, I appreciate you. I appreciate the time that you take out of your day to do this. And again, I want you to know your coaches, your ADs, your principals, your county ADs, everyone's working really hard for you behind the scenes. You may not see it. You may not hear it. They'll do the occasional interview in the press and they'll give you a small bit of info, if you will, but no, behind the scenes, they're working. I know, like I said, that's why I was a tad bit late this afternoon, so I apologize for that. But I want to make sure that we're providing the service to you as a student athlete. So again, that's kind of briefly what all we do in athletics. Again, we're going down a brand new path now, but you have my word, we're going to continue to work to provide you the best opportunity that we possibly can. And I look forward to anything you have to ask. I'll give you the best answers I can. Thank you, Q.
Thank you so much, Justin, for showing us kind of the insides of the athletic department, which is usually a very exciting department, but it's extra exciting this time. So now I'm going to actually turn it over to Jamie Rohrer, who is my supervisor in the communications department. So slightly partial to this one, but I look forward to hearing what you have to say about our work, Jamie.
Thanks, Quentin, and thank you all for signing on and being a part of this today. We're so excited that we could make this virtual experience available to you. Quentin's worked really, really hard, so thank you, Quentin. Prior to this event that you're participating in today, she also put on the Florida Dairy Farmers Academic All-State Banquet virtually, which was a huge success too. So even though we all haven't been able to be together and see one another, we're trying to keep things moving forward. So thanks again, Quentin. Like she said, my name is Jamie Rohrer, and I oversee our Administrative Services Department. Our Administrative Services Department is also sometimes coined the Communications Department, because we handle all the communications and things behind the scenes that a lot of folks don't see. We handle everything from technology. This platform that we're using today is a new system, the learning management system, and the athletic administrators in all of your schools are seeing it from another side too. It's where our virtual compliance seminars are being hosted. So Jordan Stark and Nadia Musla and Chanel Young have worked very, very hard to get the new learning management system up and running. So that's part of our technology. We also have been working on a new website. So I don't know if you follow the FHSAA online. If you do though, you've followed FHSAA.org and have seen a recent announcement on our .org site that we have a new fan site at FHSAA.com. So throughout all of quarantine, my staff has been working very diligently, and also with the help of athletics and everyone else on the FHSAA staff, to move everything from the .org website to the new .com website and make it a little bit more fan-friendly. So that's part of what we do. We also oversee all media operations and social media. Anything that you see on any of our social media platforms comes out of our department. And then any media operations, even, you know, down to a state championship, media credentials, media interviews for student athletes at championship events. The NFHS network, if any of you are part of a broadcast program through the NFHS network at your schools, those are things that we handle in our department. We also see through all of our awards programs. So you may have previously participated in the Sunshine State Spirit Showdown, or have been part of our academic all-state team, or have known someone or submitted someone, nominated someone for the Hall of Fame. Those are all things that we do throughout the year. We also handle putting together our publications in our calendar in conjunction with Ms. Stark and the Eligibility and Compliance Department. But those publications that you see, a lot of those are worked on by our department. And so, you know, we try to make those available to our all of our schools and the administrators in your schools on an annual basis. That's actually coming up very shortly. So we'll be doing our annual pack out at the beginning of August for all of your athletic administrators to receive all the new rules and publications that we have coming out for this coming year. Behind the scenes, working very hard is our technology group, and hosting these meetings that you may have seen on YouTube or Zoom of our most recently the Fall Sports Task Force, the FHSAA board meetings. So those are some things that we do behind the scenes too. We also handle all of the contracts for the association, everything from our Wilson Ball contract to Gatorade, you know, any sponsorship, marketing, partnership agreements. We handle all of those within our department, all the way to our state championship finals venues contracts. So J.A. Colasanti works very hard on those. So there's all sorts of aspects and things that go on to support high school athletics. You know, even just simply your schools being members of the association and having proper insurance. All of the membership applications, and you know, us vetting new schools to become members of the association, and overseeing and ensuring that the schools that you're a part of or that you participate against have the proper insurance and things in place so that we can have safe competitions and ensure that everyone's covered when they are competing. Those are things that we also handle in our department. So our administrative services department kind of handles a little bit of everything. There's certainly never a dull moment in what we do, and we're taking on new and exciting roles and responsibilities every day. But that's just a little insight to a few of the things that we handle on a daily basis.
All right, thanks so much, Jamie. The last department we have within the FHSAA is our finance department. So I want to introduce Matt, and he is going to share with you how the world of finance works within our association.
Hey everybody, my name is Matt Baranyk. Everybody else is taking care of the fun stuff and the interesting topics, so I guess it's up to me to cover the finance things. I'm an assistant director of finance here at the FHSAA, and I've been with the association for almost 3 years now. And I work primarily with financial reporting of athletic events and everything that goes along with that. That's preseason games, state series events, which are a lot of your districts and regional postseason games, and then the state championships, and coordinating with schools to make sure that everything is completed correctly and on time. A lot of my job involves communicating with your schools and athletic administrations about the financial aspects of these events. It's not very often that I get to communicate with the students. The other departments, I think, take care of that mostly. Our finance department is made up of 3 people, so it's a little bit of a smaller department. That's myself, Brandy Waters, and Doris Mahoney. Brandy is the CFO, or the Chief Financial Officer, and manages everything that's finance related. She's the boss, and she works with all the highest level decisions in the association where money comes into play. Things like financial planning, budgeting, and just making sure that we have enough money to do everything that we do, what everybody else has been talking about. And Brandy's been with the association for about 2 or 3 years now as well. Doris, like me, is an assistant director of finance, but she works primarily with internal business, the day-to-day operations, payroll, bank reconciliations, and really so many other things that I'm not going to be able to mention. And Doris has been with the association for over 15 years. And really, I can't speak highly enough of either of them and really anybody else who's spoken before me. They're all great people to work with and all just great people in general. But the finance department as a whole is just in charge of keeping track of all the money and going back and forth between the association, sponsors, schools, and vendors, just with all the financial stuff. An unfortunate reality of this is that sometimes we need to find schools. This could be for a lot of different things, but includes stuff like student and coach ejections, eligibility violations, and recruiting violations. We don't budget for these things, but when it does happen, we put this money towards our awards programs. And that's something that Jamie was able to speak to a little bit. I was talking to Doris a little bit earlier in the week, just about, maybe what we should cover during this talk. And she told me that one of her favorite parts about the job in those 15 years has been writing out the checks for these awards programs, some of which goes towards student athletes like you. So some of these awards have been around for a long time and others are pretty new. Some are for the schools and some go out to individual students. And I just wanted to highlight a few of these that could affect your lives directly and give you a little bit of extra money in your pocket at the end of the day. And hopefully not step on the toes of the communications department who runs these programs. And when I was in high school and playing sports, I didn't know any of these awards existed, and that is something that I wish I knew about. But this is just a brief intro to the programs, and any other information that you want to know can be found, as Jamie said, on our new FHSAA.com, or you can reach out to Quentin, who has all the answers on these things. So first is the Florida Dairy Farmers Academic All-State Team. This program splits up $50,000 in award money each year between 24 graduating seniors around the state. The honorees are generally students who have been successful on the field, in the classroom, and in the community. And each honoree receives $1,700 in scholarship money, with 2 students being chosen as the Ron Davis Scholar Athletes of the Year, and those students receive an extra $4,600. So that's a pretty good deal, and really we want as many applications for those as possible. Each school can nominate 1 female and 1 male student, so definitely talk to your coaches, your athletic directors, and your principals about this as a possibility. They need to be the ones that nominate you, but your personal achievements and essay will be what determines if you make the cut and get some of that money. The other 2 awards I want to talk about briefly are the Roger Deering Spirit of Sport and the Roger Deering Heart of the Arts Awards. These are both pretty new within the last few years, and I want to mention them because they're not school awards. These are awards that you can personally win as well. And each of these is a $1,500 scholarship if a student wins them. So the Spirit of Sport Award is for somebody involved in the school's athletic programs, and the Heart of the Arts Award is for somebody involved in the school's arts programs. That's music, speech, debate, theater, visual arts, performing arts, etc. And the award is based on 3 criteria and can be for a single act or ongoing actions. It's for somebody who has demonstrated exemplary sportsmanship and or citizenship in their sport or art, has exceeded normal expectations in assisting others within the school or community, or has overcome adversity or a challenging circumstance. So these are things where you can nominate your teammates, your teachers, your administrators, your officials, athletic trainers, and they can nominate you as well. So I just really encourage all of you to get involved with these. It's great to be recognized, and this is a great way to do that. And really nothing makes Doris happier with her job than sending this money out to you as the students for these types of things. And once again, extra information about that can be found on FHSAA.com or reaching out to Quentin. And if you have any questions, I'll let her take those at the end. Any general finance questions can come to me. And I know finance isn't the most exciting topic, but thank you for being here. Thank you for taking an interest in these things. And just thank you for attending and listening.
Okay, thank you so much, Matt, for sharing with us what the finance department does, and especially about the scholarships. Being student athletes, it's important to know what awards we have to honor you and your accomplishments. I did see a part in the chat where somebody asked for information about the awards programs, and I will be sending those as part of the email wrap-up. So once all the sessions are recorded, you'll get a copy of them, and I'll also include contact information for all of the speakers from our staff and keynote addresses from Dr. Alexander and FHS Network and Mr. Buck Martinez. So if our staff is ready, we do have some questions in the chat. So I'm gonna go ahead and read the first question. Mr. Harrison, if the COVID situation does not allow South Florida to participate in fall sports anytime soon, would you consider reorganize the seasons so that fall sports can take place in the winter or spring? If not, is there anything in place for athletes who will not be able to participate in sports because of COVID?
Great thing to ask. First, let me say, I think Scott hit on it too, and I'm sure everyone else has as well. We definitely feel for those who are in more of the hot spots. I don't know what other way to term it, and we definitely want to make sure everyone is staying safe. So that's obviously priority one. We are trying to figure something out how that would look. What kind of has to happen first is areas have to try to figure out how they're going to handle school. And you kind of see in the news now, and I'm sure you're hearing in your area, that, schools are figuring out how that's going to look, how that's going to start. So it's a real team effort, is what I'll call it, is because, we have to kind of see what schools are doing, what they're able to do. And then, once they're able to kind of figure that out, then we have to draw something on our end. And to kind of give you a little behind the scenes is, seasons and dates are planned like well in advance. I mean, we're talking like years in advance for some of them. So this is a very challenging time for all of us. And, we're really having to try to work on the fly. So there hasn't been any official changes yet. And I say yet because this is a very fluid scenario. So we obviously have our eye on stuff down there. We're trying to allow those folks make the appropriate decision on when it's safe to attend school, what that would look like, and then work with that area on, okay, here's what you're able to do school-wise, here's what the safe environment for the student athletes, and then, okay, then let's work on a structure for athletics, for what sports. There's various things for different sports. We have been sending stuff out to the schools. If you're a golf student athlete, here's some things to change. If you're a swimmer, here's some things to change. So we are continuing to work on that. I don't have a specific answer for that yet, because unfortunately we kind of got to wait to see until it gets to a safe environment to our friends down in South Florida, but we are working on something. We will provide you with some opportunity, is our hope. And I say our hope because, again, with the virus, it depends, it has to clear up enough to where there's a safe environment. But if there is a safe environment, we will work to provide you with some sort of athletic opportunity.
All right. Thank you, Justin. Next, let me see. Okay. First question is, how could I become a part of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee? Well, I oversee that committee, so I'm happy to answer that for you. We're currently accepting nominations until about the end of August, and if you want to know where to find the nomination form, it's on our new website, FHSAA.com, and to find it, you'll go to About FHSAA, click on Governance, and then click on Student Athlete, which is under Advisory Committee. On that page, you will see nomination process and a link to the form. And if anybody else is interested in that form, I can also include it in the nomination form in the wrap-up email that I send to you once we have all of our sessions recorded. All right. The next question is, Mr. Harrison, what will happen with swim season? I know that we can only have 2 swimmers per lane. What is the plan? Are there multiple teams that, there are multiple teams that train with us?
Sure, great. Another great thing to ask. And that kind of goes back to, I think sports may look different for this year and maybe even going forward. We just don't know on how things are going to look. So, one example that's we're providing with schools is a virtual type meet where, you may at the beginning of the season kind of do an actual timed meet where you'll have, one team going, let's say after school, like at 3 p.m. Then the next team comes in at 3:30. And again, this is for the beginning of the season. Maybe they have to do like an actual time trial where you're comparing times again. Because at this time, we really want to make sure everyone is safe, but also provide that environment. So it may look different from a traditional meet in years past, but there are certain avenues we're trying to explore. We're trying to see to, make sure we still have that competitive environment the best way we can do based on the non-ideal scenario we're having to go through now with what's going on in the world.
All right, thank you, Justin. I don't see any other questions in the chat or in the Q&A, but I will leave it open for just a few more minutes. And staff, if there's any other things that you wanted to cover during your section but didn't have a chance to, we can cover those as well. So anybody, if you've got a question for how we operate or specific programs or how due process works even further, just let us know.
Quentin, I'm interested to know any students on this presentation right now. Have you been following the FHSAA meetings online, and does anyone have any comments?
So we have Isabella replied to the panel that she has been following along all day, and Mason, actually a member of our student advisory committee, has been following along as well. So we thank you guys for being here. And Isabella is eager to see what happens with cross country. Another question has come up that is, I have been nominated for the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and I was wondering when I could receive more information about being part of the committee or if you have been ruled out. So thank you so much for that question. We actually are still currently accepting nominations. We do until about the end of August. So, and we try to inform schools about whether or not you've been selected to the committee either right before Labor Day or just right after. So if you've been nominated and you haven't received anything, an email that there's something wrong with your application, you're good to go. we'll just need to, we usually wait until about September to announce our new committee. Okay. Okay, here's another question. Some kids in my grade have had bad grades due to COVID-19. How will that affect their sport? Saying that there are sports, will they be able to play?
So I can handle that one if you want, Quentin. So I guess bad grades could be up for interpretation for what that is. The bylaw for academic requirements is bylaw 9.4.1. It's on page 28 of the handbook. The newest 2021 handbook is actually up on the FHSAA website, so you can find the newest version of that handbook. A student with a below a 2.0 cumulative GPA is not going to be eligible. And that is something, again, that is not appealable, unfortunately. There are certain things for ninth graders. If a ninth grader struggled, they do have some opportunities for an academic performance contract. It does require sitting out a semester and achieving a 2.0 in that semester to be able to participate in the semester following the one that they sit out of. So when you say bad grades, if you're referring to a sub 2.0 GPA, there's nothing those students are going to be able to do other than work hard in the fall to try to get that up above a 2.0, excuse me, so that they can participate in the spring. I know COVID obviously caused some issues with academics and the ability to be in the classroom and everything like that. So we do understand that. We do know that there were some struggles with some students. Again, the state law of 2.0 is still there. That has not changed. So if they're above a 2.0, as far as our standards go, those students would be eligible to participate just strictly based on academics. Certain districts may have stricter rules than that, or certain private schools may have stricter rules than that. But as far as, again, the FHSAA and the state of Florida are concerned, a 2.0 cumulative GPA for all courses that are high school level, even if they were taken in 8th grade, would be counted towards that cumulative GPA.
All right. Thank you, Scott. We have a question from the chat. Will the FHSAA make a decision to push back the football season since different counties are deciding to?
Good one. So like I mentioned, we have a board of directors meeting tonight. As it stands now, the first allowable date for fall sports to begin a practice is next week. Again, that's the first allowable date for a practice. Games, your preseason games for the fall sports do not begin on the calendar until August 10th. Then the regular season games begin for next week. So we expect that to be a topic tonight, actually here in about an hour and a half. So as we kind of learn through stuff as we learn stuff and work through stuff, we'll definitely share that information. Unfortunately, I don't have a exact answer for you yet. But again, we're doing everything we can to provide something for the student athlete.
Thank you, Justin. Can athletes reclassify if they have no season this fall?
So the FHSAA, there is no reclassification in high school. Bylaw 9.5.1 allows for a student to have 8 consecutive semesters, that's fall and spring, from the first semester that they enter 9th grade of participation. Going back to our due process discussion, bylaw 9.5.1 is something that is appealable. We have students appeal that every single month that were held back for whatever reason. Now there's supposed to be a hardship there. So that is something that is appealable, but to answer your question, no, there's no reclassification as of now. That is not something that is in place. So a student in that situation, should they choose to extend their high school career to a 5th year, would have to come to sectional appeals and apply for a hardship waiver.
Thank you, Scott. For the Student Advisory Committee, will the mandatory meetings be held virtually? Our hope is that we will be able to get together and all be in the same room at some point. So our hope is we'll be able to hold the meeting in our office in Gainesville. However, like we've said a couple times, we are exploring kind of all options. So I wouldn't say for now they're going to be held virtually, but I will say that it is a possibility. The fortunate thing about the Student Advisory Committee is we do meet twice a year. So if it comes to a situation where in the fall we have to meet virtually, we'll still have the potential where we could possibly be together in person in March. So whatever we feel is best, and also getting the impact of our advisory committee members, if they're not in a place where they can travel beyond their counties, we'll try to make the decision that's most fair for our committee members. Next question is, was there supposed to be a banquet for the 2019-2020 school year track season? I think that might be a school decision because the FHSAA doesn't hold specific sport banquets ourselves. A lot of schools do it on an individual basis, and maybe even some smaller counties do, but the FHSAA doesn't hold banquets in that regard. But if you are referring to the academic all-state banquet, we did put together a virtual recognition for those students. Next question is, how do I get nominated for the committee? Well, that's easy. All you need to do is talk to your athletic director and let them know that you're interested. I'll send you the form, and they approve it, and you fill it out, and then you submit it to me. Okay. Well, I've answered all the questions in the chat, and I think I've got everything in the Q&A as well. So just want to give one last call to any of the students that are watching. If you've got any questions about, how we're operating or what we're doing, we'll be happy to answer them or give you the best possible answer that we can. All right, well, I'm not seeing any right now. So if there are no more questions, I just want to thank our staff panelists for showing kind of what a day in the life of each department goes through. These times are particularly challenging, but I appreciate everyone's understanding, especially since we had to switch our live seminar to a virtual seminar. If you followed along with us all day and completed the trainings on the learning platforms, we greatly appreciate your time, and everyone that has been communicating with our keynote speakers and having an interactive and engaging session with us in particular. We love hearing from our student athletes. Hosting these events and being at championships is why we're in this business. So if there's anything we can do for you, you'll get the contact information of all of our speakers today, and feel free to ask us any questions. Our goal is to serve you as part of our membership, and we wouldn't have these jobs if we weren't so passionate about athletics and making sure we give the best opportunities for student athletes. So if there are no more questions, thank you so much for following along today, and we hope to see you soon, and stay safe. Bye, everybody.